Okay, that making. Okay, so that is. Let me just double check. Stop, cancel. Okay, so it's recording. Just stop live streaming. Okay, so everyone just get a cup of coffee. Give me 2 minutes, and then I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Travis Mitchell. He's a life changer, and you're going to see why now. Dr. Travis, I just want to double check. Are you on? Let me check. Have I made you Dr. Travis? Okay, I need to maybe make you open your mic. My co-host. Okay, Dr. Travis, just let me know that if you are in the room.
I am in the room. I'm in my own room.
Are you in your own room? Okay, now that's good. I'm going to introduce you now in 1 minute. I just want to quickly get some maintenance going and get the face.
Must I share my screen now or in 1 minute?
In 1 minute.
All right.
Okay, go live. Okay, so hopefully everyone has their coffee and coming in. Let me get my presentation of introducing Dr. T. Dr. Travis is in the house. How happy. Dr. Travis, on my journey to Kilimanjaro, had a big impact on my breathing and my exercising and getting me ready for Kilimanjaro. And so I'm honored and blessed to have the one and only. I love his philosophy. I love the way he sees the world and how he sees health. He's a chiropractor by profession. He's a life changer. Since he was 16, he discovered his passion for chiropractic. And for the first time in his life, he was driven, had to focus, and required to achieve. As a high school dropout, I had to finish my schooling before being able to study further. So I attended night school. Oh, yeah, that persistence, eh? And after graduating, I enrolled for chiropractic at the University of Johannesburg. My clinical interest is in my family chiropractic care. I provide assistance to all members of the family, big, small. We care for them all. I respect the human's body ability to heal itself when provided with the right tools and support. And this is applicable at any age. I know that true health and happiness is possible. He says, I love to share my experience and understanding of chiropractic health and love. So separately, I provide health and wellness promotion to anyone that is willing to listen. I express straightforward concepts that are both easily to digest and thought-provoking. I have written numerous articles for various publications, been interviewed in radio in Dubai, and he's now basically going this week into Dubai to change people's life. My second love is my family and Kobus Visser. I'm continually inspired and fueled by my wonderful and supporting wife, beautiful son, and Kobus Visser. I look forward to walking with you and inspire the world of greatness. Brother, it's so honored to have you. Yeah, you are ready. The floor is going to be yours, and you can inspire and bring hope to these beautiful ladies and gentlemen watching.
Well, Kobus, I think that was amazing. No one has ever introduced me like that before. So I have to say thank you very much to Mr. Kobus Visser. I'm giving you a round of applause. Thank you very much. It's a great honor to share this speaking platform with as many of the great speakers that you've got. Kobus, I think you're a wonderful person, and looking at the type of speakers that you have brought to the stage, it is surely an indication of who you are as a person. So I bow my head and I say thank you very much to you. Now, good evening, everyone. Please use the chat box as much as you can. I've got to try and see where the chat is. There, the chat box is. I'm going to move that off to the side. So good evening. I'm going to talk today about the chiropractor's philosophy for health, happiness, especially in this new world. Now, as you look at Mr. Lion over here, perhaps you feel like this lion. You've lost some hair. out of your proud mane. You've got some scars all over your body. You're sitting from exhaustion and you're looking towards the future, hoping for light at the end of the tunnel. If you felt like 2020 was a challenging year, then perhaps this talk is for you. My agenda today is I'm going to be making a big statement. And when I make the big statement, wherever you are, I want you to cheer loudly, just give some energy to this world. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a case for the information. Some of the stuff is boring, some of the stuff is important. Please take note of the case that I present, because when we get to the magic, when we get to the action steps, this is where you get to make a decision. How are you going to deal with yourself going forward? So here we go. This is number one. Your only investment is your health. I don't know if you've read Mr. Dalai Lama's understanding of the strangeness of humanity. But I had a patient who came to see me when I was living in Dubai. I lived in Dubai from 2005 to 2010. This gentleman had a huge amount of money. In actual fact, he bought a story of the Burj Khalifa before it was built. So he bought a piece of air. He then sold it a year later. It still hadn't been built. And he made a massive amount of income. And he sat in my office crying and he said to me, I have spent my health and my family to earn money. And I don't know if I can spend the money to get my health and my family back. And at that moment, I sat with him and I thought, wow, what is the most important investment in your life? So if you can just quickly go to the chat bar and just answer that question. What is the most important investment in your life? No one is giving an answer. Hey, children, yes, in me, myself, my sanity, my health, myself, relationships, my family. Now, I don't want to talk bad about some of the other speakers because I know they're giving you some great information about wealth investment. But today I want to talk to you about health investment. So before we start about health, let me give you some fundamental philosophical definitions. So when we talk about philosophy, it has to be a guiding principle for your behavior. So philosophy for me is a way of thinking. When we talk about health, the World Health Organization states that health is a complete state of resilience. And the important part about this resilience is your ability to change to the environment. And as we go through this talk, I think that for me is a very important question. Did you change to the changing of the environment? Now, no one could have predicted COVID-19. Well, now we're on COVID-20 and soon to be COVID-21. No one could have predicted this. This was a massive change in this world. Did you change with the changing environment? And then lastly, for me, a definition regarding happiness. You will notice that I always spell happiness with a Y. And the answer for me is when we're talking about happiness, who does your happiness serve? If your happiness serves yourself and no one else, that is happiness with an I. If your happiness serves someone else and it is for the future, then your happiness is with a Y. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. As Kobus mentioned, I was a high school dropout. But going back in time, I'll tell you that at 7 years of age, I watched my father fall off a trampoline. My father said to my brother and I, let me show you how to use a trampoline. Now, anytime an adult male is trying to show two boys how to use a trampoline, you know that there's going to be trouble. And so my father over-rotated on the trampoline, fell off the trampoline, and he affected his rib cage, he damaged his spine, he affected his legs, he affected his shoulder. And my mom took my dad to a chiropractor, and over 6 months, my dad's health was restored. And I sat there and I looked at this and I went, wow, how amazing is this? I wish that I can help someone to that extent. Now, fast forward a few years, school was not great for me. I got to high school and I was fugly. I don't know if you know what fugly is, but fugly means effing ugly. I was fugly. I had big teeth, big nose, big ears, big head, small body. I was a dork. I was a dweeb. No one liked me. I was a complete introvert. I had stomach issues. I couldn't control a fart. I was farting all the time. I stank. And high school was abysmal. So much so that I couldn't care. And I got to the end of standard 9. I failed third term of standard 9. And when we went to speak to the principal, the headmistress looked at me and said, you know what? You're not going to amount to anything. You might as well go become something functional. And my mom looked at the headmistress and she said, no. That's not how this is going to play out. And I remember the night before I went back to school, I couldn't go to sleep. And the reason is not that I had failed, but I was going to be considered a failure. And I knew in the heart of hearts that I was not a failure. And the whole night, the word that kept coming back was chiropractic, chiropractic, chiropractic. And I got to say thank you to John Keogh. 50 years later, I sent a message back to my past self, telling him that you would be okay. So when I woke up in the morning, I was charged with something greater. I knew that this would change my inner being, my inner state. And later on, we will talk about that inner state. And that started my process of wanting to be something greater. Not only be something greater, but to be able to help somebody greater. Fast forward to 2012, I get the opportunity to start my own practice. And I created my practice under this philosophical construct called Aspire Happiness. Every single one of you has to have an aspiration. You have to have an aspiration of something greater. And hopefully that aspiration is about happiness, where you are desiring to serve someone else, desire to improve yourself to the benefit of someone else. And you will then sit with that long-lasting feeling of satisfaction where you have achieved your innate goal. And at my practice, we know that true health and happiness is a possibility. Is everybody with me so far? Just give me a thumbs up. Great, thank you. So now we move on to part 2. As I said, this is the building of the case. So as we look at health costs from 1970 to 2006, it was very interesting. While I was searching for different statistics on health, very few health statistics were around from 2019 onwards. And I think that's because all of our health stats at this moment in time is to COVID and everything that goes with that. But if you have a look at our healthcare costs from 1970 to 2016, we are spending more to health every single year exponentially. Now, if any one of the investment gurus are on this talk, would you consider purchasing in this investment chart? And hopefully the answer would be yes. Now, when we talk about healthcare costs, can you imagine that there are 23 countries in the world that spend on average $3,000 per person per year on healthcare? And if you go to the United States, you're spending more than $10,000 per person per year. That is ridiculous. In South African terms, that is 150,000 Rand per year. Let's go back to the chat box. What would you be able to do with 150,000 Rand a year? Now, can you imagine what are we getting with this 150,000 Rand a year? Travel, invest, really get some happiness. Travel, presumably that means travel, invest it. Now, can you imagine that we're spending this per person to be healthier? And then when we come and have a look at this, heart disease, $214 billion per year, causing $138 billion loss in productivity. Cancer, 174. My son said that if he had that money, he would spend it on helping animals. Isn't that awesome? Diabetes, $327 billion. And this is per year. Arthritis, $304 billion. Alzheimer's, $379 billion projected by 2040. Epilepsy, $8.6 billion. How's this one? Tooth decay. Now, I talk about tooth decay because my son didn't brush his teeth terribly well, and so he got an abscess above his tooth. And unfortunately, it makes you lose 54 million school hours. Now, for some kids, they're going to say, you know what, let me get some tooth problems because I don't want to go to school. I thought this was interesting. If a person stops smoking, if everyone stops smoking, that's going to save us $170 billion in direct medical costs. If everyone got more physical activity, it would save us $117 billion annually. And then excessive alcohol, $249 billion. So who are the investment gurus on this summit? If you could invest some of this money, realistically, what difference would you make to society? If you want to give us an answer in the chat, I would appreciate that. The question is, if you are investment and you could invest some of this money effectively, what difference would you make to the world and to society? Wow. Reduce food insecurity and poverty. Less poverty. Thank you for these answers. This is fantastic. I want to bring it a little closer to home. And so this is the average South African household. Average annual expenses is 103,000 per month. Annual per year. Average annual income. If you look over here, you get to see food, beverage, and tobacco percentage in terms of expenditure. You now know why the South Africans are bitching and moaning about the lockdown rules. If you look at South Africa, they spend 0.9% annually on health. When I looked at this, I went, wow, that's interesting. I went and looked at South Africa, and South Africa, unfortunately, in 2019 was rated the most unhealthiest country in the world. And that was looking at a few different mechanisms. Reading from here, life expectancy, blood pressure, blood glucose, obesity, depression, happiness index, alcohol use, tobacco use, inactivity, and government spending on healthcare. South Africa is the most unhealthiest country in the world. And so when we look at what this entails is, unfortunately, more and more South Africans are having to spend out of pocket for their healthcare. Medical scheme members paid 3.2 billion Rand out of their pocket for more private healthcare in 2015 than 2014. And in practice, I can certainly tell you that I get to see that. I have patients that have medical insurance, but would rather pay for their healthcare, their chiropractic care, out of their own pocket than use their medical insurance. And it's unfortunately becoming more and more expensive and inaccessible. And particularly in South Africa, I see this remaining a big challenge for the future. And this is where the philosophical construct of Aspire Happiness comes into being. If we can make a change to people's understandings of health and happiness, we can start to influence the amount of money that is spent, wasted on healthcare. If you look at the average South African, they're spending between 1,300, 2,683 Rand per month on their medical insurance. And so my question to you in the chat box, are we winning the battle? Are we winning the battle in health and happiness? No, 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 not at all. Thank you very much for your answers. I didn't want to talk too much about COVID. I feel that it is just such common conversation at this point in time. With my wife and I, we have a rule that we don't talk about COVID unless it's affecting us directly. And for those that it has affected, I send my heart, my love, my prayers. I know that it's affecting a lot of people. This lady, Kimberly, I liked her article and I'll read it out for you. COVID-19 led to a dramatic loss of human life worldwide and presents an unprecedented challenge to public health, food system, and the world of work. The economic and social disruption caused by the pandemic is devastating. Tens of millions of people are at risk of falling into extreme poverty, while the number of undernourished people currently estimated at nearly 690 million. I almost pulled the Jacob Zuma there. 600,000 million 123 could increase by up to 132 million by the end of the year. Millions of enterprises face an existential threat. Nearly half of the world's global force are at risk of losing their livelihoods. Informal economic workers are particularly vulnerable because of the majority lack of social protection and access to quality healthcare. Without the means to earn an income during lockdown, many are unable to feed themselves and their family. For most, no income means no food, and at best, less food, less nutritious food. So hopefully I've painted a picture. I'm sorry if I've painted a grim picture. I'm sorry if I've brought the mood and the laughter that Diane brought for us down a few notches. After this, we can all entertain ourselves with some laughter. And Diane, I'll ask you to come back on and laugh. You've got such an infectious laugh. But I ask you this question. So what does the future hold, and what does your future hold? Are we and the collective we going to get a grip on health and happiness of the world, or are we going to stay in this reactive mechanism of healthcare? Again, I ask you to put your thoughts in the chat box. Are we going to get a grip on this health and happiness of the world? Or are we going to continue in this reactive mechanism of healthcare? And so my talk today is asking you to say, no, I want to get a grip. I want to get a grip on mine, on my family, and as many people as what I can touch. Well, obviously in COVID, you can't touch people because of social distance. So this is the starting point. Now that I've given the background, now we come into the magic. So I want you to think for a moment on a scale between 1 and 10. 10 out of 10 is you are as healthy and as happy as you would like to be. You have no reservations. You have no hindrances or limitations. 1 out of 10 is you are on death's door. Where would you rate yourself? We've got a 4, 5, 7, 7, 5, 8. This sounds like someone's number. 6, 5, 4, 6, 8. So there was a meme that I saw during COVID, and it went something like this. At the end of lockdown, are you going to be fat Thor, or are you going to be good-looking Thor? And so some people, unfortunately, didn't do anything. They were confined to their house. They didn't have the availability to exercise. And so they became fat Thor. And others, like myself, I had nothing to do. I was away from my son and my wife. And so I spent time just exercising and focusing my mind. So you can harp on these pictures for a moment. And for the ladies, you can drool and salivate and say, wow. For the gentlemen, you can be envious. But my question a lot deeper is, what difference would it make to you if you had the quality of life that you wish to have? Now, when we talk about quality of life, for me, quality of life is playing with my son. I've got a 13-year-old son, and he loves to do wonderful things, exciting things. I want to be able to do some crazy movements with my body. I want to be able to do a planche and a muscle up. I want to be able to do a handstand and walk on my hands. My wife and I, we would love to go and travel the world and see what God has created for us in the beauty of Him. I would love to be a chiropractor to at least 100 years of age. I would love to see my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. You've got to think big in terms of your quality of life. You've got to think, what difference would it make if I was truthfully at my health and happiness? When I say I want to be a chiropractor till 100 years of age, that's so that I can serve as many people as divinely possible with the greatest quality of chiropractic care for as long as I am able to do that. When I became a chiropractor, I saw that there were 700 chiropractors in South Africa, roughly speaking, and there's 70 million people in South Africa. And I said, that means each chiropractor needs to see 100,000 patients. Now, if you do the mathematics, chiropractors have to work really hard. But I don't believe chiropractic is a luxury. I believe it's a necessity. And as we get to the end of the talk, I'll show you why. So here we have less pain, more enjoyment. What difference would it make to you if you had the quality of life? I would be a streamlined old lady who can walk 3 kilometers every day. Thank you, Penny. I've never heard the term streamlined. So here we come to the magic. The key to thriving is adaptation. The key to thriving is adaptation. Now, let me explain to you adaptation. We've got 2 choices. You can either adapt or you can compensate. When we say there is no cure for the stupid, there is no cure in this world. And I'm telling you now, we will not cure COVID. That may seem harsh, but we won't cure it. We're either proactively managing situations or we're reactively dancing. Adaptation is what we're after. Let me explain it to you. When you get a virus that comes to see you, whether it's COVID or something else, your body will have to go through the immune response. That immune response in a perfect world means that you fight off the virus and your body gets stronger. That means that you have the antibodies. The next time you face a virus, the same or similar, your body has adaptation. It's got immunity. It's strong enough to fight that. Compensation is the opposite. Compensation means that every time you get into contact with it, your body unfortunately gets weaker and weaker. And that's why they've warned us in the likes of COVID and other conditions that the pre-existing, not all the time, but the pre-existing is what one has to be concerned about. Now, when we talk about adaptation, it's becoming fitted to the environment. Please realize these viruses, why they are changing. We now have COVID 0.2.1. We've got a new strain. Why? Because viruses, bacteria, germs, bugs, they have to adapt in order to survive. And we have to adapt to so many different circumstances. Not only the virus, but we have to adapt to the vaccine. When you get the vaccine, you have to get immunity. They're saying that the vaccine is not creating 100% immunity. We know that. So your body has to still adapt to the vaccine to get that immunity. You're sanitizing your hands. You got masks on every day. there's a lot of need to adapt. Businesses are struggling. You're going to have to adapt in your business. So when you look at me and you say, how do I adapt? Adaptation comes in 3 phases. Phase number 1, awareness. You have to start with an awareness of what needs to change. You have to have an awareness of where you're at currently and where you want to go. You have to have an awareness of what is not working. Once you have the awareness, you should be able to generate an action step. You don't put actions in once. Vince Lombardi says winning is a habit. Unfortunately, so is losing. You don't do the right things some of the time. You do the right things all of the time. So if you're going to find the actions to put in place, make sure you put it in place all of the time. And from that, we got to have acknowledgement. Acknowledgement of, did my action make a difference? Set a time plan in place, 6 weeks, 12 weeks. Physiological change takes 12 weeks. You know this because when you start an exercise program, you don't do it for 1 day or 1 week or 1 month. An exercise program has to be at least 12 weeks, 3 months in order to make a difference. Once you have put those actions in place consistently over that time, you can have an acknowledgement of whether it was successful or not. Then you go back to the drawing board, have an awareness, put an action in place, set a time frame, and acknowledge. Here are some of the important conversations that I want you to think about. Number 1, be realistic. Most people, when they put things in place, actions in place, they want it like this. They want the most amazing things like this now. Be realistic. Be optimistic, but be a realistic optimist. You have to spend time with yourself, understanding your excuses and your weaknesses. At the end of the talk, I'll give you my personal details. I mentor and coach many people on their health choices. I guide people to understand the mind and the body mechanism. You've got to understand how your mind and your body work together. You've got to understand how your excuses and your weaknesses make you fail. If you set a New Year's resolution and you set it blindly and you don't achieve it, you are setting yourself up for weaknesses, failures, and that is not going to help you. Dr. Demartini, hopefully some of you know who he is. He's created something called the value determinator. Please go and look at it to find what your values and what your motivations are. Your desire to change must be greater than your desire to stay the same. I promise you, you deserve to be healthier and happier than where you are now. Weakness is not a reason, it is just an excuse. You got to say to yourself, no more excuses. And I will help anyone who's willing to send me a message, guide you, direct you, to show you how to put things in place realistically, not big picture, unbelievable, wow, 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 realistic steps to achieve change. So here's the secret. Anyone who knows me, you know that I'll ask you the question, set your rituals and routines. So let's have a moment on the chat box. If you don't mind giving me an answer, what are the things that you do every single day? If that is a cup of coffee every single morning, please put it down. Let's see what people are doing every single day. First thing in the morning, have a glass of water, meditate, exercise, brush teeth. Thank heavens you brush your teeth. Cup of tea and milk, pray, thank you. Coffee, lemon water, lots of coffee, lots and lots and lots, pray, breathing, brushing teeth, coffee in the morning. Yes, everyone loves their coffee, waking up, detox water. Ashton, my son, says he reads, gratitude, have a glass of water, positively uplift myself, routine, stretch, go for a jog. Wow, thank you very much. Now, the importance of daily rituals and routines. For me, this is where the rubber hits the road. The Training Effect by Joe Frazier, world-class boxer. He said, you can set up a life plan or a fight plan. And when the bell goes, and you're against the ropes, you're by your reflexes. And that's where your road work shows. If you cheat on it in the dark of the morning, you're going to get found out under the bright light. So how's your training? Now, when you do your rituals and routines, it must change your internal state. Now, I'm not going to talk about that now. I'll talk about it at the end if anyone wants to know how to change your internal state. But there's a couple of rules of rituals and routines. I got to tell you this, you cannot break a habit. This is realistic. Neurologically, you cannot break a habit. So you will set a habit in place from the time you were conceived until the time you are now. So the only opportunity that you have is setting a brand new habit in place. And you've got to get to a point where your brain has to choose between two habits. And if you set value into the new habit, your brain will follow that path. And as it fires down that path, it builds value into that new habit. The old habit will always still exist. And we know that because if you haven't gone on a bike in a long time and you get on a bike, you can still ride it. So these are the rules for setting habits, repetition. But remember what I said, the right repetition. You got to make sure you're doing what is right for you. You got to put time and you got to put value into this. If it doesn't change your internal state, if this doesn't motivate you, if this doesn't move you, if there's no value to this, I promise you, you'll do it for a day, a week, a month max, and it won't do anything for you. My family, we live on a 5 and 2 rule, which means 5 days a week, strict. 2 days a week, have some fun. That helps the mental game. It's not important what you do 20% of the time. It's important what you do 80% of the time. And you have to have mechanisms of assessment and biofeedback. Biofeedback means you get to see whether what you're doing is working. The simple understanding of biofeedback is the bathroom scale. But remember, for most ladies, when they look at the bathroom scale, there's a lot of psychology that goes on, not physiology. So here is the practical application. You're either going to sink or you're going to fly. There is no swimming. So in chiropractic, and this is, I'm not selling anything in this talk. I'm just giving my information, but this is my secret marketing ploy. I want every single one of you to phone your chiropractor and go see him tomorrow. So let me explain to you. There's something called the autonomic nervous system. It has 2 branches. This sympathetic is your stress state. This parasympathetic is your relaxation state. And this is what controls your body on every given moment. Now, what I want you to understand is your sensory system determines the environment and sends that message to your brain, not your mind, to your brain, saying, this is what's happening. This is how you need to respond. So I have people all the time come into my office and say, Doc, I'm not stressed. But when I look at their body, there is stress all over the body. That is because they are in a sympathetic dominant state 24/7. Remember, your sensory system is just to determine your environment. And when we talk about adaptation, it is to change how you interact with your environment. Now we add one further. Your sensory system is primed by emotions. We do not live in reality. We live in our own perception of reality, which means whatever emotions are sitting in the mind, they will influence what your sensory system gives to your brain. And that means you can have people in a sympathetic nervous system constantly. So one of my original chiropractors gave me this chart. It's called the, oh, crumbs, I can't remember, the biochart. Biochart. Anyway, I want you to have a look at these headings: balanced, unbalanced, exhausted. Look at some of these words in each one of them. And if you don't mind, give me your answer of where you are. Are you in a balanced nervous system? That means your sympathetic and your parasympathetic are working together. That means that your sensory system is accurately determining your environment. Balance means that your emotions are not overloading your sensory system on a day-to-day basis, and your brain can make accurate decisions on how to respond. That allows you to adapt. Unbalanced means that your sensory system is not giving the right information. And if it's unbalanced for long periods of time, unfortunately, it'll eventually lead to an exhausted. You have those people that bounce off the walls. They're over-aroused at all times. You have those people that cannot get off the couch. They're under-aroused. And you have those people that fluctuate from one to the other. I'm going to say that there are a lot of unstable people in this world. So here is the chiropractic message. I want you to be happy. And if your computer gets stuck, you're going to push Control Alt Delete. In 1921, there was a gentleman, he wasn't even a chiropractor. He looked at spinal degeneration and cause of death. And he found a direct correlation between spinal degeneration and cause of death. The spine neurologically switches on the functions of all parts of the body. So chiropractic is designed to make you clear the interference, to allow your body to have an amazing ability, to restore your quality of life. But I always tell my patients, chiropractic is simply the lights being switched on. Once the lights are switched on, you've got to do something different. And so as much as I want you to go to your chiropractor tomorrow, I do also want you to do something different. There's a lot of research behind chiropractic, and hopefully Kobus does another one of these seminars, and I'll do some more discussion about the research behind chiropractic. But just know, chiropractic makes you happy. I am finished speaking. Please take note of the references that I use so that you don't think that I was just making all of this information up. I am happy for you to subscribe to me. If you want, you can contact my office. I have a WhatsApp group called Breaking Bread, which every day I send information to you, small little WhatsApp messages. It's not a group where everyone can send their information back. You just receive information from me that challenges you. I hope this talk stimulated, activated, and motivated you to do something different. This year, I will be releasing my talk, my seminar series on stress management. I saw that last year, my goodness, stress was a huge issue. And I want to show you through this philosophy, through the right actions, how to deal with stress. I will also be releasing my movement series, and so that I can show you how to use your body in the right manner. If you're on our WhatsApp group, you will be the first people to know about it, and we'll offer it complimentary. Thereafter, we're going to try and make as much money as we can. So, thank you very much for everyone who joined in this presentation. Thank you for those people that I know and I love. If there are any questions, let me know now so that I can answer. How do I get to those? There we go. There we go. Any questions? Any thoughts? Thank you, Nadia. You met me at Baby Gym Training 7.5 years ago. Still amazing, Trav. Thank you very much, Nadia. Any questions? Any questions? Yeah, there we go. There is the link to my WhatsApp group. You can join now if you want. Thank you, Diamahatso. Oh my goodness, I gotta try and get some words. There we go. There's my link to my WhatsApp group. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much. I love you. I pray for you. God bless you. Kobus, God bless you, my friend. And have a wonderful, wonderful evening.
You just want to run off, eh? You know, we first probably need to still, get people the opportunity while we get waiting for the next speaker. Dr. Travels, you know, I've learned a lot. You've had a big impact on my life, and I think we've met each other like in 2016 somewhere, and you know, we've on and off, and you helped me a lot with my back. And
well, Kobus, if you don't mind, I would like to share this with you and with the people on the talk. So Kobus, when he met me, he told me about his health condition. And Kobus, I'm sure everyone knows. Do you mind if I share?
Yeah, you can share.
So Kobus is a hemophiliac, which basically means that, you know, his body doesn't know how to clot, and therefore Kobus being an Afrikaner, you know, he said to me, I can't go to a Ruk and Pluk doctor. And I said to him, well, Cobus, I just want to let you know that chiropractic is a lot more than just Ruk and Pluk. And he said, yeah, but I've got hemophilia, so I can't do that. And I said, Cobus, there are many ways of adjusting the spine, not just Ruk and Pluk. And Cobus and I went through a couple of months of work, and certainly Cobus's walking ability improved, and his breathing improved a lot as well. And my last video that I saw of Cobus, he's still walking well. So I'm grateful for that, Cobus.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's also forced me to do my posture, to improve my posture. My lady friend Krupa likes to tell me, Cobus, stand straight, because I used to hump over. So it's become a conscious thing to need to stand up straight, so that your posture is so very important in the end of the day that we need to look after it. And that's one thing that for me, the only challenge is sometimes, and it's not an excuse. You going to Dubai is the excuse why I haven't visited yet. But I like to put my excuse, you're so far, it's like across the river, Pretoria, North Riding. So I'm using that excuse, but it's not an excuse. So hopefully,
Cobus, that's why I said I don't care whether you come to me or not. I just care if chiropractors get busier. So,
but me, you're the best. I'm a friend of a few chiropractors, and if they're on this call, don't take offense. It's just because I love Dr. Travis, and I've been with him, so I would really highly say, I agree. Go to which one is the closest to you, but I definitely need to owe you a visit. So when you're back, Darren is on the call. Make a note that we schedule a session with Dr. Travis. I will want to go visit again. So
I want to meet Taryn. Taryn seems like an amazing person. She organizes everything, gets everything in the game. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, and she's just around the corner from you. So she's actually much closer than me from you. So totally, she needs to come and visit you.
And then you hang on a second. I'm pregnant and I need a good back crack. Thank you, Taryn. Please, we don't use the word back crack. We use the word reset or adjustment. It's much more professional.
Yeah, definitely. And I totally agree. Darren, will you just check where PG Paradigm is, if he's close by? I don't see him on the Zoom yet. I think, Travis, people should join you. And I think, I don't know how people realize it, but, most of the summit have been just giving value. There's here and there that someone has offered a product that people can buy. But I think, you coming onto the par as well and giving value. My intent in the beginning, if we make sales, great stuff and people follow. But I also wanted to give people that motivation. I read an article today that almost 60% of businesses has closed down. Okay, I'm just exaggerating a little bit. It's more than like 43%, but it's in my perception, it's more to 60%. I just lost a nurse.
Hang on a second, Cobus, if you don't mind. Someone just asked a question. What is my morning routine? Do you mind if I answer it?
You go ahead while we waiting for PG.
Fantastic. So I wake up at 5 o'clock Dubai time, which is 3 o'clock South Africa time. When I wake up in the morning, I do my resting heart rate, and I do what's called heart rate variability, and that takes me about 6 minutes. And while I do that, I do a visualization for my body, but especially my kidneys. Once I've done that, I then do some spinal stretches, and then I get out of bed. Once I get out of bed, I do a breathing practice very specifically to train my lungs, and then I go for a walk. I go for a 45-minute walk while I listen to scripture and while I listen to Bible reading. When I come back, I read the Bible, I meditate, and I pray on the message for the day. I then get my journal out, and I then journal out my thoughts, my concerns, my emotions, and so on. Then I stretch again. And then I send a message to my wife telling her how beautiful she is and how much I love her and how much she's the only one for me. And then I send a message to my son saying that he is the greatest that I've ever met, and he's going to impact the world massively. And then I send messages to my staff, and then I look at my WhatsApp and I look at my emails. That takes me about an hour.
No messages for Cobus on a daily basis. Have you forgotten about me?
Cobus, I will send you a message from tomorrow, you'll be on my message list. How many hours sleep is preferred? I don't talk about numbers. I talk about 6 steps of good sleep. So number 1, do you fall asleep straight away? Do you stay asleep the whole night? Do you wake up fresh? Do you have dreams, great dreams, and remember your dreams? If you cannot say yes to 6 out of 6, you're not sleeping effectively. If you're not sleeping effectively, you're not healing effectively. And therefore, you need to speak to me or your chiropractor so we can help you learn how to do that better.
I see Penny is on the group. Penny said something earlier. She would love to get to a point, I think, where she walks about 3 kilometers on a daily basis. And I think, Penny, what age are you, Penny? I don't, if you're on here, just maybe comment for us. But, you know, Penny, I think she's a young lady still. And, you know, just give us some advice the older you get, you know. I heard one of the speakers today said, you know, he saw someone that couldn't walk and they used their stretcher to stand up every day and do their squats. And if not after long, they could put the walker past them and they could walk by themselves. So just some advice for, you know, for our younger people of this age, how can they improve their lifestyle?
Well, I said to you, Kobus, that I will be realistic. Everyone will get older. And as you get older, there are physiological changes that happen with age. As you get older, you have to put more time and effort into your body. And one of the things that happens is your contractile tissue, your connective tissue gets shorter and it gets less elastic. So that means that most people will get stiffer and their posture will get more hunched. So you have to spend time doing some or other form of stretching. I think there we go, Penny, 75 years old. That's fantastic, Penny. I'd love to meet you, Penny. I certainly, you are a serious, noble guy. I like it. Thank you, Claudius. I certainly believe a lot in yoga. And one of the people that I've met, his name is, sure, but I can't remember. Cameron Shane. He is a yogi from America. And if you send me a message, I will send you links that he has to YouTube videos. There are simple stretches that you can do every single day. Nadia, you asked about pillow assessment. Here goes my noble answer. Unfortunately, if you have a terrible spine, you can have the best pillow in the world. You can have spent the most amount of money on that pillow, and you're still going to have a terrible spine. So in my office, I don't sell spinal pillows or cushions or anything of that sort. The only thing that I do advise is take a towel and roll it up. And when you're lying on your back, tuck the towel under your neck, not your head, your neck, and lie like that for 5 minutes every day. But my answer is, if you've got a terrible spine, go to the chiropractor so the chiropractor can correct your spine so that you don't have to buy expensive pillows. Thank you, Coach Phil, for your message.
Okay, let's quickly see if PG is on here. Okay.
There we go. Does correction of spine take numerous sessions? You just tell me when I'm going to stop talking, Kobus, okay?
Answer the questions. We're just waiting for PG. He's still getting on.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Arlene, does correcting a spine take numerous sessions? The answer is the same as correcting teeth. How long does it take to straighten teeth? When you break a bone, how long does it take for a bone to heal? So yes, correction of spine takes time. Our general loose answer is 1 month for every year of damage. And when I take x-rays, I'm able to determine a degree of damage on the person's spine and how much time it's going to take for the person to get better. Remember, in my office, it's not just spinal correction. It is spinal correction mixed with your homework.
Okay, great stuff. Everyone, give Dr. Travis a big shout out. Dr. Travis, before you go, just put in your link. Just check if your group is full. If not, just put into your link as well. I'm just then going to get ready to introduce PG Paradigm. I just want to stop the recording quickly.